So I'm trying to build that, where she comes in and she kind of embeds herself into the community and becomes a part of the community family.
You're watching the Spotlight Network, starring Hollywood's newsman, Logan Crawford.
They now believe a single member.
He works with TV and film legends. And now, Logan's shining the spotlight on the world's top emerging authors and creators.
International were abducted.
This is Spotlight with Logan Crawford, streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV.
I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're diving into the world of romance author Tilly Fern. That is the pen name of Nicole Brewer. She is a powerhouse entrepreneur, a trades teacher, and storyteller who's redefining what it means to live life at full throttle. Her latest novel is called Mountain Cabin, Hearts Reclaimed, and it is a story that takes readers on an emotional journey to Willow Creek, where second chances, small town charm, and the courage to love again collide in the most unexpected ways. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team for helping us put her on TV today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Nicole, great to see you here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, hello, Logan Crawford, and thank you very much for having me. I am grateful for the opportunity.
Well, I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk to you about your terrific book. It almost seems like a Hallmark movie in the waiting. What do you say? Do you see that?
Well, I'm kind of hoping that I'd like to go that direction with it. I'm actually going to be working on a series in the future. I had the Mountain Cabin series, and I want to continue it on. So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that I can go that route with it. I think it's a nice story.
Yeah, and there is something so romantic about a mountain cabin and being out there among natures in a beautiful setting, as is depicted on the cover of your book and behind you as well. And let's give the folks at home a little bit of an overview. Tell them a little bit about the story.
Well, it's about a woman named Teri who has to start over, and it's not easy to start over. It never is. So, she ventures out. She, doesn't really find the place that she's looking for to start over. So she just decides to take a ride. And then that's when she finds the cabin. And from there, it's just like she's very into community, very trying to involve herself and stuff, and just kind of escape from what she had before, and a new beginning, all new, and just start over. And she's very business minded. She kind of mirrors myself. I love business and I love helping people and building things and creating things. I'm just, so she works her way through it. She meets boy meets girl. And he is going through a lot in his life, and his name is Nick. And so they kind of work through things together. At first, it's kind of like a standoffish relationship, and then it kind of comes about where they're doing more work together and they're learning about each other, and then they just kind of fall in love, I guess you'd say.
Awesome. That's great. It does sound like a Hallmark movie, doesn't it? A girl starts over again in her beautiful country home in this small little idyllic town. She finally meets a guy who seems like he may be Mr. Right, but is he? We shall see. It's a great story, no doubt. Is Willow Creek based at all on a real town that you might know, or it is a
No,
compilation of all the little towns?
there is a little town, I believe, called Willow Creek, but no, I just kind of picked that. I mean, I was just, and Mirror Lake came about. I can't remember really what I was doing when I come up with that, but I mean, I've vacationed a few times in the Adirondacks when I was young. I went with my family, and it's so beautiful, everything there. And there's all, smaller lakes and bodies of water everywhere, and there's cabins, and it's just gorgeous. So that's kind of like what I wanted to create. And I grew up in a small town. So to me, small towns are important. And they're not like they used to be. Like I used to know everybody that lived on the street, on Main Street, and now I really don't, because I came from this little town called Jasper, And I mean, if you blink, you miss it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like, but we didn't really have like storefronts and stuff like that. We only had a few stores in town and a church, and but it was just everybody knew everybody, and we all, somebody's house caught on fire, God forbid, everybody was there to try to put it out, and in communities now, like towns have grown and people come in and they come and go, and you don't really know anybody. So I'm trying to build that, where she comes in and she kind of embeds herself into the community and becomes a part of the community family. So that's another added thing I really enjoy about it.
I think people are longing for little towns like that again. I mean, that's where they vacation. They go to these little idyllic towns with a cute little main street with mom and pop shops. I mean, I think people long for that because our society has become so impersonal, you know? So it'd be nice to visit a small town in the pages of your book where a girl's trying to do good for her community, and then along comes Nick Callahan, and a little romance ensues. So that's a great formula. Tell us about Nick and what his story is, his backstory.
Well, he's a kind of a broken-hearted horse farmer. He's stable. He owns a stable. He calls it the ranch because when his wife left him and took their daughter, who is transgender, or she is, going through this thing where she wants to be a boy, and he had a hard time dealing with it, and his wife wanted to like listen to what was, everybody was saying, and psychologists and all this, and just it split him up. So she went her way and took Avery, and he is kind of lost, so he's like a lost soul. He's a handyman, but he also, like I said, has the stables, and he has a campground there at the stables, and there's just a lot of stuff. So he does like summer camps for youth and all kinds of stuff, which will be more, I mean, that stuff will be more pronounced in the second portion, so it's not so, pronounced right now. But the stable does have a name, but he just has it because he just calls it the ranch because him and his wife kind of created it together. And then when she left, it just kind of broke him. So he's just trying to heal from that.
Yeah, yeah, that's fascinating. An interesting character as well. And certainly the conflict he has at home with his child is a real life conflict that's being played out all across the country and all across the world. And it can be very, very difficult on families to maneuver that situation and strategize exactly what to do. Where do you see the book going? Is it going to continue with Teri's story, or are we going to see new characters and new storylines? Tell us about that.
Well, when you go into after you get through the first part, the second one is going to be called Trails of Becoming. So it's
Mhm.
about all of them growing together in the community, and, the girls figuring it out because we also have Emma Jean, who is the niece of Teri that came into the picture because she had to leave she is 16 and pregnant, and she ended up having to, leave because her mother wants her to have an abortion, which is another big thing that kids deal with nowadays, and parents have to deal with it, and Emma Jean just isn't having it. She doesn't want to
Mhm.
do that, so she moves in with Teri, and they all, so the second part of it is going to be about them, her becoming more familiar with her own self and her baby, and having that, and um Avery kind of, trying to figure out what she wants to do. But Avery and Emma Jean kind of lean on each other a lot, so they became really good friends, and Emma Jean has a very what do I want to say, very impactful, or very I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. She has an impact, a great impact on Avery and what Avery would, wants to do in the future. She's just trying to figure herself out. So she can talk to Emma Jean, but she really doesn't talk to anybody else about it.
Great. This is great. I mean, I could see this as a TV series or a series of films. You know, I mentioned Hallmark Channel, of course, but I also see this almost as a Gilmore Girls kind of thing set in Willow Creek. And everybody loves Gilmore Girls, right? Are you a Gilmore Girls fan?
I've never, nope, that's not one that I've watched. I was more like in the era of, and I don't want to date myself, but Little House on the Prairie.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, I'm of the Little House on the Prairie era also, but my daughter was huge into Gilmore Girls, so that's why I watched Gilmore Girls. But it's kind of all similar themes, like where men are like handymen and helping with the community, and it's they're stories I think people are hungry for, are thirsty for. They want to know a little bit about small town life, and small town life, of course, has evolved where people are dealing with transgender issues, people are dealing with abortions, and so you set some real life conflicts there amidst this idyllic setting. And I think that is wonderful. Have you started book two or are you halfway through? Tell us a little bit about where you
I'm
are.
I am almost done with book two. It's still in the works. I gotta, tweak it a little bit. But I'm hoping for maybe around April having a release on it next year. I mean, I'm hoping to have it finished by then. I have a lot of stuff going on, so when I get back to work from my summer break, it gets kind of hectic. And then I own Woodhull Raceway, so during the race season, which is all summer, that gets kind of hectic.
Yeah.
And I also take care of my husband well, I have a trucking company, and my husband drives tractor trailers, so in doing all that stuff along, and I did have a restaurant, I've been trying to write a book for years, but because I had the restaurant, I really couldn't do it. So we sold that last year, and that's why I was able to actually work on the book and finish it.
Well, no excuses. Just because, you're married, you have a job at a school, you run a racetrack, and other assorted pursuits. No, I'm teasing. You are a busy, busy lady. Do you enjoy being that busy? Is that part of what keeps you going?
I absolutely love it. I enjoy just experiencing everything that life has to offer
Yeah.
because there's so much, and I like to stay positive and focus on the positive things, and I pray a lot. But I just love all the experiences of doing things. My students are like, where do you learn to do all this stuff? Because I teach, it's called Career Connections, and it's primarily like age groups from 13 to 18. Some of them are behavior issues, and some of them are just, they don't fit into a regular classroom, and they're trying to figure out which trade they want to go into. So I introduce them to all the trades. So it's great. I have a heavy side and I have a culinary side.
Yeah.
So like we do, and we can, we're going to get into doing t-shirts and stuff like that because of digital media arts. I mean, there's so many different areas they can go into. So, but I grew up on a farm, and I had two brothers and my dad and my mom. And I spent time with mom in the kitchen, and I spent time in the shop with dad, and I spent time in the garage with my brothers. So, I've got a lot of experience in a lot of different things.
That's great. That's awesome. So when you're in at BOCES and working with kids in the trades and so forth, you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk.
Right.
Because if you're talking about entrepreneurship, you are an entrepreneur. If you're talking about running a restaurant, you've run a restaurant and so forth and so on. I think that's terrific. And you're also a published author now. And I think that's great. This book is wonderful. It is called Mountain Cabin, Hearts Reclaimed. It is a book that takes readers on an emotional journey to Willow Creek, a town where second chances, small town charm, and the courage to love again collide in the most unexpected ways. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, I'm grateful for the opportunity.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you and talk about your wonderful work and your interesting and fulfilled life. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time.